Welcome back. We're going to look at the other part of faith, because though faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, faith without works being alone is dead. Faith is what promotes us to works. Faith is what makes us take action. Fear is what keeps us from action. People can be even frightened to death. Faith is what makes us move and go about, be able to do what needs to be done. With faith, without works being alone is be dead. We have that living faith that helps us to go and do whatever we must do in times of great stress and great pressure. And as we just heard from Hebrews, it brings forth the most unlikely heroes from the most unlikely of people. It's funny how faith does that kind of thing. We see the works of faith in the Gospel of John, chapter 6. I'll be reading verses 1 through 13 of the Gospel of John in chapter 6. While we do that, we're going to look at how faith promotes action. That our faith is not alone being dead, but our faith bears forth action. In the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verse 1, states this: After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles which he had done on them that they were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. And when Jesus lifted up his eyes, he saw the multitude. And he had the company of come unto him, and he saith unto Philip, When shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Sometimes we don't know what lies ahead. This is where it takes faith. But God knows. Jesus knew what would happen. He went to prove him. He went to prove the faith coming forth in an action. Faith without works being alone is dead. He knew that this would propagate those works, that this would bring forth that action for him. So he went out and he went to prove him. It's the times of those great stress and great anxiety and all that pressure that bring forth our character. Jesus knew this. This is why this went on. He wanted to see what would happen, because he already knew what would happen. With faith, we can realize more of who God truly is, and then God also brings forth more of us understanding who we truly are in him. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take just a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, This is a lad here, which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are these among so many? Sometimes we think about what we have, and we think about, all I have is just this little bit of an amount. This isn't enough. We read about the Old Testament, a woman that had the oil. She only had just enough to make a little bit of in her cruse to make a small cake for herself, a small cake for her son, and she said they were going to eat it and then die. But the prophet of the Lord said, take your faith, put an action to it, show God reverence. Give the man of God a small cake first. Make a small one for him first, that he may eat. Faith with actions, going towards God. Take what you have and give it to the Lord. See what he does with it. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him, There's a lad here, which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Jesus said, make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in that place. So the men sat down in numbers about 5,000. And in another account, it said 5,000, not counting women and children. So we could see anywhere from 5,000 people to 15,000 people. Some people estimate between these two numbers. Even still, a couple of fishes and a few barley loaves. That seems like quite a big order for a few barley loaves and just a couple fishes of a lad's lunch. And verse 11 says, and Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down. And likewise of the fishes, as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered them together, and filled 12 baskets, the fragments, the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Not only was there enough that everybody was able to eat, and everyone was able to be satisfied. They took up 12 baskets. There were 12 disciples. God takes care of those who in his name take care of others. Even those that would offer a cold drink of water in the name of the Lord, they will not lose their reward. I have one last scripture I wanted to share with you guys. It's in the book of Matthew. This is Matthew chapter 6. It's verses 1 through 13. One of the things we have with our faith is the power of prayer. That's one of those things that bridges the heaven and the earth. We're down here on the earth. God is up in heaven. It is our faith by which we can reach out and touch God. I like the one quote of an individual whose name escapes me at the moment. But he said there's 3 heavens. The first is seen by day. It's the atmospheric heaven, where the edge of the land is and the space above it. It's called the first heaven, the atmospheric. He said the first heaven is seen by day. The second heaven, the stellar heaven, where the stars and the galaxies are, he said the second heaven is seen by night. But yet there's a third heaven, and that one is seen by faith. In the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6, verse 1 says, the words of Christ, take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou dost thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they have glory of men. Verily I say to you, they have their reward. But when thou dost alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doth. Don't sound the trumpet. Don't promote yourself as being holy. Don't go bragging how you're a Christian and how you know God. When you go to talk to God, be honest. Be sincere. Bring forth your supplication. Bring forth your heart and pour it out to God. But when thou dost thine alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doth. That thine alms be made in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are. For they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the street, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. Our prayer is to be for God, to hear, to know, and to respond, to get a reaction from God. Our prayer is not to have men to see and have them to have their reaction. Jesus said, those people, no, they have the reward. For they're not beseeching and appealing unto God and unto heaven, they're appealing unto men. Verse 6 says, but thou when thou prayest, enter into thy closet. When thou hast shut the door, pray to the Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Many times we notice that when we fast and we keep that to ourselves and God, it gets rewarded openly. When we pray, we keep that to ourselves and unto God, and He rewards it openly. Verse 7 says, But when you pray, use not vain repetition as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask Him. Kind of like with the fish and the loaves. The Lord knows what they had need of. He wants to see who we turn to. What happens with that stress and that pressure that squeezes upon us? Will it crush us to dust, or will a diamond be revealed in the midst of us? But without that pressure, all you have is a dirty old lump of coal. God allows that pressure to bring forth something of great value within us. He already knows the answer. He knows what we have need of. It's our faith that bears forth those works. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed or holy be your name. Remember, God is not one who is distant and great and far from us. He's the one we call Father. He's the one who has compassion upon us. Yes, He is great and He's mighty and holy and powerful. But think about this. In those times where we have no help from anyone else, we call the one who created the heavens, the earth, and all that in them is, and we call Him Father. His name is holy. And it says, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. As Jesus told us before, as you'd have men to do unto you, do ye also unto them. If you want forgiveness from God, those who have wronged you, forgive them also. This is how people will know that you're the children of God, that you show forth the resemblance of your Father, kind, compassionate, full of mercy, full of forgiveness. Verse 13 says, And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. So, as we go throughout this week, remember faith, the substance of your hope, the evidence of the unseen, and also remember that your faith without works being alone is dead. It makes the most unlikely among us to become heroes among us. Take that which you have, though it be little, give it to God. Let Him see and watch what He does amazing with it. One last thing I want to share with you guys. In October 1755, we didn't have too much of a navy. We went against the greatest empire on the face of the earth. And all ships have to have a standard and a flag so you don't accidentally shoot your own guys. Washington had 6 ships commissioned. All we had was a few big trees like you see all through our state of Pennsylvania. So we took those trees, cut them down, and they were used to build the ships. And Washington said, when we have no access to help of God, we know that we can make an appeal unto heaven. So before the Betsy Ross flag with the 13 stars and stripes, there there was a flag that was put on these ships. And the flag was a picture of a tree with a white background, and above it was Washington's statement, an appeal to heaven. They took what they had, gave it to God, and asked Him to bless it. So when you have nothing left, remember, that which generally is our last resort should be our first recourse, which is prayer by faith, of the which we make an appeal unto heaven. Thank you. I hope this live stream finds you guys well. Thanks for watching. And God bless each and every one of you on the other side of my voice.